standing at the receiving hopper out on the crush pad.
Okay.
Right here is where a truckload of grapes will come in. They'll have an 8-ton tubs on the back of their truck.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll put a hook on one side of that tub, and the other side's hinged on the flatbed trailer. We'll lift the one side, and it'll dump the grapes right into the hopper. And once the grapes are in the hopper, they can be transferred with these augers up to the press, or we have the choice of going right to a destemmer. The white grapes, they go directly to a press because we want to get the skins and the juice separated right off the bat. And the red grapes, all we're looking to do is to get any sort of stems out of the separated from the berries, and probably slightly break up the berries a little bit, and then pump the whole slurry of skins and juice into a tank, and then it's ready for fermentation right inside the winery.
It can hang out with its skins for a while first.
Yeah, it needs a little interaction there to get all that good flavor and color, tannin and structure out of the skins. So, good rule of thumb is anywhere from 6 or 7 days to maybe even up to like 14 days. And you can do all sorts of things to where you might even crush the grapes into a tank, and before you add the yeast, you might let them sit for 4 or 5 days, and that's what's called a cold soak. And you soak them before you even start the fermentation, just because you get a little sort of different extraction and when there's no heat. What we're looking at here is we're underneath the bladder press. It's a big cylinder tank here, and what I'm pushing up on here is actually the rubber bladder that's inside here. It's kind of extended down right now as if it was pressurized on the backside, but before we go and fill this up with grapes, we'll create a vacuum, and this will actually draw in all the way against the cylinder, so it's a completely open cylinder. And once the grapes are in here, we'll close the door. It'll be turned upright, of course, at that point. We'll close the door, and then we'll start putting air in this bladder, and it'll come down into the shape that it's in right now, and squeeze all those grapes, try and get all the juice out of them. And the juice will run into some slots that are back up in here, and from there we'll just pump it right into a tank and continue the winemaking process with that. Basically, you're relying upon the kind of the repetition of doing that, several times throughout a press cycle instead of just one time really hard. And so the less you really push it down, depending upon the style of wine and the actual grapes that are in there, the harder you push, the more you're going to start squeezing out of those skins. So in certain circumstances, you might want to extract more tannin from certain red wines, but in certain white wines, you might want to be real gentle so you don't get very much phenolic character from the skin. So it's just it's style and just a tool, that you can work. It takes about 2 to 3 hours sometimes to do a press cycle, so you can start tasting the product towards the end of the press cycle and say, hey, okay, now it's time to stop it, because we've extracted everything that we want to. So. We've got most of our tanks right here. These are red fermentation tanks, and you can also store white wine in them. This is a real busy time during harvest, because as those fermentations are going on a daily basis for the red wines, you have to come in here and mix the tanks up twice a day. And that really, otherwise the skins and the juice kind of separate from each other. So in order to get all those good flavors, you got to make sure you mix them up. So that's during harvest. Today, really what we're working on is preparing wines for bottling. And a big part of that process is blending the wine, so you make sure every tank is going to taste the same as the other one. So that's what they're working on today. We've got the 2009 Syrah they're blending together. We've got some Chardonnay they're blending, and we just finished blending the Merlot yesterday. So. leaf and looking to check the maturation process, you know, the flavor development of the wine throughout the year. You know, red wine can spend up to, you know, in our winery up to 18 months in a barrel. So what happens during that 18 months, and you want to make sure if something's happening that you don't like, that you find out right away. So,
right.
And things you do like, you know, you want to keep them going. So I've got some 2009 Syrah right here, and I'm going to take my wine thief, dip it into the barrel, put some in my glass.
How's it coming?
It's coming good. Making sure there's no off aromas developing because of too much oxidation or anything like that. So smelling a lot of nice clean Syrah flavors, you know, which is a positive sign. And a nice clean palate. It needs a little bit more time in the barrel to round off some of those tannins, but I think it's going to be a good wine.